In the past, they had all acted individually, but now that they were all informing each other of their status, it was as though everyone was joined by invisible strings. Rather than reap the harvest when he sensed his prey approach, all Master had to do was pull on that string and draw them over. He did not want to talk, but Kunivela told him everything he knew. Thanks to the effects of the undead domination, he could not hide or lie about anything. The girl would throw pointed questions his way from time to time. It was probably to ensure that it matched up with what they had learned from the already destroyed members. Thank you. Although Master had thanked Kunivela for coming clean, he probably meant none of it. Now then, this is the last question. The words last question made Kunivela panic. He had not yet shown his usefulness, and if this kept up, it would be for the worst. Enough, number 1. The girl interrupted in a tone that suggested fatigue, or an empty vitality. That's enough, number 1. After all, I've done a lot of research on my own, and I understand now. You know what I said about not deluding myself anymore 2 years ago. Is this about the divine maiden of the sun? But this isn't just for you, number 2. I've told you several times, but this is also for my own personal interest. It's not for you, but for me. The expression on the girl's face was strange. It seemed lonely and happy at the same time. Kunivela could not understand it. I'll ask, then. Do you know anything about how the country of Inveria was destroyed by all its people becoming zombies? He searched his memory after hearing the word Inveria, but all he knew about it was that it was some faraway country. No, I know nothing. Is that so? Then, do you know of any way to revert a person who has been turned into a zombie back to normal, that is to say, back into a living being? It doesn't matter if it's very unlikely. Well, he felt that this was a good time to demonstrate his worth. Kunivela knew nothing about the topic. If he had not been dominated, he would probably have tried to make something up to save his life, or lied that he was just about to begin research into that topic. No, I do not. But they say legendary beings like the Dragon Lords should know something about it. That name comes up often. The vast being that floats in the sky, as well as the brightness Dragon Lord. In addition, there are. He listed the names of all the Dragon Lords he knew of, but he added that he was not sure where they were or if they actually existed. Kunivela felt that this was his chance and desperately tried to sell himself. If you give me time, I will find the locations of these Dragon Lords immediately. A good suggestion, but I will still be destroying you. The reply came back immediately. But why? Am I not useful to you? Because allowing others to know about us would have many demerits for us. It is because you did not know about us that you could not find the right way to deal with us. But it would be impossible to betray you if you used your ability to dominate everyone. Indeed, that is so. But as you know, there is a limit to undead domination, both in upper limits and total numbers. There are far too many drawbacks for me to afford the luxury of dominating you, as long as there is no way to absolutely guarantee that you will never betray me. We would never betray. I explained it to you just now, didn't I? Kunivela swallowed his words. There was nothing he could show the undead being before him that could change his mind. Now then, let's put an end to this. Suzuki Satoru and Keno rode their covered wagon onward. This was not the covered wagon they had bought from Keno's homeland of Inveria, but something that they had purchased around a year ago. Incidentally, this was the fourth such carriage. The first had been destroyed, the second had been burned in an attack, and the third had been abandoned. The two people on the driver's seat, Suzuki Satoru with reins in hand, and Keno beside him with a magical tome on her lap, chatted about nothing in particular as usual, while they made their way over the quiet plains. Keno's hair, which descended to her slender, porcelain neck, swayed in the wind. While she had asked Suzuki Satoru to cut it for her, he felt that it would be better for her to wear a hood. That was because he was unsure if the smell of dirt and dust in the air would infuse itself into her hair. However, he would not actually say that out loud. Keno was at a difficult age now. If Suzuki Satoru had brought it up, she would go and puff up her cheeks. Keno's mood improved when he did not treat her like a child, so Satoru too had tried not to talk like that. She had been alone for 40 years, and the two of them had been together for 5 more. Her mindset should have grown more during the latter part of that. However, she did not seem to have grown at all. He worked the reins, which slapped against the horse's rump. There was no meaning to that action. The horse pulling the wagon was the same golem that had pulled their wagon back then. But it was all part of the act. The two of them had done a lot of acting during their journey. It was true that both of them were undead, and they had a golem horse. None of them needed to sleep, and they could all see in the dark. However, they still set up tents at night to avoid suspicion. Of course, they did not need to sleep, so the two of them typically talked in their tents until daybreak. While Keno's actual age exceeded Suzuki Satoru's, she did not have much life experience, since she had never left the city. She was a 10-year-old heiress who had never left her hometown. This meant that she rapidly ran out of things to talk about, and could only fall back to her knowledge of what she had learned. On the other hand, Suzuki Satoru's stories were very well received by Keno. Not as stories of the real world where Suzuki Satoru lived a world shrouded in a thick layer of clouds, but tales of Yggdrasil. To a girl who lived in a world of swords and sorcery, Suzuki Satoru's adventures in Yggdrasil were what made her eyes glow in excitement. At first, there were quite a few things which made Keno frown. They seemed too far-fetched and ridiculous for her. But Suzuki Satoru had proof. While it was not a complete record, Suzuki Satoru's photo albums contained pictures of the things he spoke about. Keno, who did not know what photos were, seemed to regard them as exquisite portraits. But after seeing a photo of Satoru and herself, she accepted that they were faithful depictions of the landscape. Things were simple after that. They proved that the adventures which filled Keno with dread were events which Suzuki Satoru had experienced. In other words, the adventures of the great magic caster Suzuki Satoru were true. The admiration in Keno's eyes soon turned into shining respect, which Suzuki Satoru saw. It greatly improved his mood, and he began to speak effusively. Before long, Keno knew the adventures of Ainz like the back of her hand. That was how they had spent their 5 years. And today, the same story ended as the wagon swayed. And so everyone from Ainz gave rise to another legend. You're amazing, Satoru. Fufu, it's nothing that great, Keno. With numbers like that, accomplishing that much was child's play. Here's a photo of that time. Suzuki Satoru let go of the reins and gave verbal orders to the golem horse. He used his empty hands to take out his photo album and flip through it, muttering, "Where is it?" As he did, he found a picture of them after they had defeated the fire giant Lord Surtur and showed it to her. "Wow!" Keno exclaimed in delight. "You're amazing. I can't believe you managed to defeat such a mighty giant." No. It was possible because of everyone in Ainz. After all, who else could defeat a giant lord who wielded such a powerful flaming staff? Yes, that might be true. After taking back and putting the picture away, he recalled the many times they had beaten Surtur. It had not been terribly difficult because his elemental resistances were supremely monofocused, but Suzuki Satoru did not want to say so, and shattered the girl's dreams, thus disappointing her. Therefore, Suzuki Satoru simply smiled. Precisely. You and your friends were amazing, Satoru. His spirits raised, Suzuki Satoru went along with Keno's excitement. Really now? I guess so. The way everyone managed to avoid death and hang on after he threw away his sword and took out Leviathan was very well done. Yup. Everyone was amazing. They won because of you, Satoru. You think so? Haha. Suzuki Satoru laughed, in a very good mood. Did you and your friends really repeat all those amazing adventures, Satoru? Indeed we did. And then we're going on a great adventure on ourselves too, aren't we? Keno smiled bitterly. Really? But it doesn't feel like a fancy adventure or anything. Doesn't it all depend on how you look at it? It's been 5 years since we set out from your country. Haven't we been to many countries and seen many mysteries? Fighting isn't everything, you know. Enjoying the unknown. Heading out on a trip and using your own eyes to see the world, was that not the true adventure Yggdrasil sought? Now, he could kind of understand how the world searchers felt. Of course, there was nothing wrong with fighting beside your friends and playing the game. But Suzuki Satoru was confident in saying that his journey with Keno was the journey the two of them ought to have gone on. I suppose. That 7 Scorch Plain and Clear Lake were both pretty amazing. Personally, the 7 Scorch Plain was kind of gross for me, but the Clear Lake was very beautiful. It looked just like glass. Yup. It's amazing. The two of them continued reminiscing about that beautiful sight as they continued onward. If only I could see those sights again. We can go again if we've got nothing on. After all, our lifespans are unlimited. That's true, Keno replied. And also, you've become stronger than before, Keno. Want to try taking on a powerful enemy? Travel and battle were inextricably linked. It was not a matter of security. When one went to less populated regions, monsters that regarded one as prey would show up, and there was the chance of meeting strong foes when visiting scenic spots. That said, Suzuki Satoru had only encountered one opponent that he would consider strong. However, there were countless foes who would have killed Keno instantly had she been alone. Suzuki Satoru was in charge of violence, while Keno would handle the brainwork, but it was still important for Keno to be tough enough to take a hit from a powerful being. Just count me out. I know you're thinking about me, Satoru, and I'm glad. And you've also lent me several amazing items. But what do you call it? Grinding. That doesn't seem to work, does it? I mean, I don't really like taking a stick and beating a dying dragon with all its limbs chopped off over and over again. I'm not talking about your plan, but more like how you kept ignoring his pleas for mercy. Yeah, that's kind of heart-wrenching. No, it's not like that. Of course I know you don't like that sort of thing either, and you're only doing it because of me. And I don't want to get the pretty clothes you lent me dirty. I'm just thinking that maybe there could be another way next time. Keno managed to squeeze all those words out with unnecessary haste. It would seem she did not like the incident where she was training on the dragon. Well, having a girl do that sort of thing was a little inhumane, Suzuki Satoru regretted. Maybe I should find an opponent she won't mind abusing next time. Thieves and others who were unworthy of mercy should probably be left for a later date because they could speak. Maybe some creature who could not speak or an object might be better. Suzuki Satoru then began to consider various monsters. Personally speaking, giant insects and the like seemed like good candidates. I've got it, Keno. Next time I'll plan it out better when we go grinding. He smiled and gave her a thumbs up. Keno responded with an expression that was hard to describe in words. It was a precious look that he could only see once a year. No, when they had first set out, he felt like he had seen it more often than that, but he was not so sure about the events of 5 years ago. Yumu. That said, I don't know how your karma value has changed. However, since mine is negative, I'm hoping that yours will become positive to compensate. That being the case, it would be best to slaughter opponents with negative karma values. No, Satoru, let's talk about that later. Look, you can see the city already. It really does stand out. So it does.